All right, my beloved, here's an intuition dump. Tell me what you think about this. Is the reason Mars doesn't support liquid water the way the Earth does is because the Earth has a tidal locked moon, right? Because we only see one surface of the moon. The moon doesn't rotate. it's locked, tidal locked, in one spot, and it has benefit for the electromagnetic activity, the Schumann resonance, all that stuff. It's predicated on the moon's activity, and we know that the moon doesn't move. What happens? More light or less light? All the difference between the tides and this and that coming in, of it being closer or whatever based on the time of day. That activity is necessary to support life. Mars, my conjecture, and the spirit conjecture, the necromantic, necronomicus from the skies conjecture, is that you can't support liquid water life the way that we can here on Earth, on any other place without a moon. And it's not just a moon. You need a special tidal locked one in order to sustain life. And that the envelope we're in is so minute and so rare that the format we're in may only be for a period of time. The next big thing might be the same mind power coming back in another format. We believe that hot astro turds, spice chunks from the sky, is the next big thing. Space weather's going to change. And that there's a couple places on the Earth that are good to get away from it. We're looking into it. We think something about silver, right? So I'll leave that as a hint. And I do think there should be some kind of the North American and South American conglomerate where we oppose the rest of the Earth with a socioeconomically cohesive industrial complex, military industrial complex, social industrial complex that kind of transverses, like a federation, right? I think a federation needs to happen. A galactic federation, right? Where we go all back to worshiping the stars and the planetoids. Because remember, they're intelligent life. If intelligent life is on this planetoid, there's intelligence we're getting reflected in this field eminently on the microcosm envelope around the sun. So my conjecture on that is you can go all the way to Mercury and back if you can manage to keep them burning up. Your brain will still work. But you get back outside of Mars toward Jupiter and things start getting weird, right? And I believe that they're not telling us something. You really can't get out of a certain field. They sent animals up and they'd come back all scrambled egged and stuff, right? I believe they weren't telling the truth about stuff. They can only get to a certain point. There's like a possibility of going further, but it's going to be many zeros before we end up there, right? We're not even close because the stuff they said they did didn't do the way they said they did it. They had access to some of the things. They had the mind power to get there. But the conjecture that they throw on it, like the possibilities they throw at, it's just to get more money, to certify the ability to take money to apply research to stuff that they're not really making headway in. You ever ask them what all the radio telescopes are for? They're watching space weather. That's the one thing they're worried about most, is that if something comes out from the Venus's area and pelts us, because those wouldn't be like astro turds, where it's like ice and a bunch of stuff. That's going to be angry hot rocks. So, and that's what the Aztecs were worried about. That's why they sacrificed people for the mid-heaven ruler in order to make sure astro chunks wouldn't come down. Because in their time, that was the record, that they did stuff like that. They were like, no, we don't want hot rocks from the goddamn sky. We absolutely want the bright light that shows up in the morning and the evening to be happy with us, which was the ruler, right? The brightest light. And they could tell that lights control things, right? Even through the moon. The ancients weren't retarded. Guys, everyone wants to say, oh, and back in the day, they was just dumb. They didn't have it. No, these minds worked better back then. You guys have been capped. Your ability to think and ascend into the mental realms where you can pick apart the reality that they presented you with
in a capacity that says, man, like a lot of this stuff is just wholly unbelievable. It's narrative, all narrative. You know, when we start looking up the center, you start realizing that the temple's up the center, not the left or the right. The temple is to get into the Templar process, to the access to your powers and stuff. It's not a polarity. It's not polarity split. You gotta kind of like get through the middle, right? You gotta realize that there's a both sides. It's like talking about the coin, where you see the left has something on it, the right has something on it. They both don't agree, but they're both looking at the same reality, right? It's parallel polarity contingent. Both polarities exist, like a snake going up a thing. They both exist, right, in the same space, perpetually, because there's always going to be that multiple narratives of how things happen, how things will come about, how things will finish, but there is no indication of how they came about or how they ought to finish, right? So, but we do know that those planets control everything that happens around us, right? Those are the rulers, right? Those are the gods. That's how the Greeks got their pantheon, is from those celestial movements, and knowing that those things, they reflect intelligence down here and they live out lives. And there are people that are different than other people because of their celestial intelligence. And we know that. That's the difference between the feral and bestial nature of man, because that existed in a period of time. And then there is the developed ascended mental nature of man, where we've developed our upper faculties and have created a cohesive society kind of thing, right? That comes from upper faculty intelligence. You can't find that under a rock. You can't find that in a tree. It doesn't fall out of the air. You have to reach somewhere for those things, for those formats. And we believe they're all divine, right? That's why they say rulership is divine. The ability to rule and capacitate that rulership is divine. It's a mind power that's divine, right? And we believe that. So, just some thoughts, beloved. Another mental dump from your necromancer. You'll have a great rest of your day.